This club now is starting to become your family. Was there like one inciting incident that then ratcheted it up to another level?
Yeah, and that became so in 1994 we switched from the Hell's Henchmen to we became Hell's Angels, right? We were talking to the Hell's Angels, and one of the henchmen was in the penitentiary with an angel out of Minnesota, and they had a good relationship with each other. And the Hell's Angels at the time were never in the Midwest. It was Minnesota, and then nothing in the Midwest, and then it was Ohio. So there was that big gap of no Hell's Angels right there, and we were the opportunity, right? The Hell's Henchmen, 3 chapters, guys that were, about it and stuff like that. So once we decided that we were going to become Hell's Angels, well, that changed the game in the history of Chicago, because the Outlaws, that was their hometown. That was their chapter. The Chicago chapter was, on the map.
How does that decision get made?
All of us took it to a vote. There was some older guys in the club that were Hell's Henchmen at the time that, knew that they didn't want to take that next step, and we couldn't blame them. At the time I was, 22, 23 years old, and these guys were, 40s and 50s, and they're thinking, okay, once we make this decision to become Hell's Angels, it's going to turn the city upside down here. The Outlaws are not going to be happy with this, and we don't know what's coming, but we knew they weren't going to be happy. So some guys split. We gave them the opportunity. We said, you can't keep the club. The Hell's Henchmen has to fold and become Hell's Angels. You can't keep the club, So guys left. The guys that stayed made the decision to stay, and we kind of buckled up for the ride, because the Outlaws told us there's nothing more for us to talk about. It's on, mortal enemies at the time.
How did they send you that message?
We sat with them at a table. They had called, at the time the president was a guy that was the Hell's Henchman president for probably 15 years. And they hit him up, and 5 of us went to meet 5 of them at a restaurant. And they asked if the rumor was true, and we said, yeah, we're doing it. We're going to become Hell's Angels. And they said, okay, there's nothing more for us to talk about. See you when we see you. And I knew right then and there, when them cats left that table, it was going to get serious.
And then what is so what's like once you leave that table, what's the conversation like? What does that feel like? Is there any part of you like, fuck, it's on now? Or
Yeah.
are you like, bring whatever comes?
And I'm super young at the time, and these cats are, 10, 12, 15 years older than me, that just, on the Outlaw side too, and serious cats, right? The Outlaws had a very, very tough reputation. These guys weren't pushovers by any means. They had a very hardcore crew, and these 5 cats that came from their team were the hardcore dudes. And I looked in their eyes and seen it, And when we were leaving, and I said, well, we kind of knew the outcome we were going to get.
Yeah.
We knew nothing was going to happen at the time. We were in a restaurant. We picked, we all picked a restaurant where it was, neutral, and we were just, going home saying, well, boys, now we got to see what's going to happen here. We weren't taking anything to them. They were not happy with what we were doing. So we were kind of like sitting back and seeing how it was going to go. And things escalated very fast, very fast. The beating started, the barroom stuff, catching a couple of guys in the bars. They jumped a few of our guys. We returned the favor, and it started that way. And then it's like they took a step up with the violence, and we had to try to take the step up to do it, right? There's no playbook, right? There's nothing you're reading from. It's like you have to be Johnny on the spot and take what comes your way. And that's how we were all doing it, right? None of us really knew anything. I mean, when they put the bomb on our clubhouse in 1994, that was the 3rd largest bomb to this day. It was like the Oklahoma McVeigh. It was the trades towers, in New York. And this was the 3rd largest bomb detonated in the United States to this day.